how did the rebellion against David by Sheba end? This is the question we seek to answer today as we continue our verse-by-verse study of the book of 2 Samuel on Walking Through the Bible. Today we're going to be discussing 2 Samuel chapter 20, verses 14 to 20. But before we do that, let's read the passage. If you have a Bible with you, turn to 2 Samuel chapter 20, verse 14. But if you don't have a Bible, don't worry, just follow along with us on the screen. The version that we'll be reading from is the New King James Version. So 2 Samuel chapter 20, beginning at verse 14. And he went through all the tribes of Israel to Abel and Beth-maachah and all the Berites. So they were gathered together and also went after Sheba. Then they came and besieged him in Abel of Beth-maachah. And they cast up a siege mound against the city, and it stood by the rampart. And all the people who were with Joab battered the wall to throw it down. Then a wise woman cried out from the city, "Hear, hear! Please say to Joab, 'Come nearby, that I may speak with you.' When he had come near to her, the woman said, 'Are you Joab?' He answered, 'I am.' Then she said to him, 'Hear the words of your maidservant.' And he answered, 'I am listening.' So she spoke, saying, 'They used to talk in former times, saying, They shall surely seek guidance at Abel, and so they would end disputes. I am among the peaceable and faithful in Israel. You seek to destroy a city and a mother in Israel? Why would you swallow up the inheritance of the Lord?' And Joab answered and said, 'Far be it from me, that I should swallow up or destroy. That is not so. But a man from the mountains of Ephraim, Sheba, the son of Bichri by name, has raised his hand against the king, against David. Deliver him only, and I will depart from the city.' So the woman said to Joab, 'Watch, his head will be thrown to you over the wall.' Then the woman in her wisdom went to all the people, and they cut off the head of Sheba, the son of Bichri, and threw it out to Joab. Then he blew a trumpet, and they withdrew from the city, every man to his tent. So Joab returned to the king at Jerusalem, and Joab was over all the army of Israel. Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, was over the Cherethites and the Pelethites. Adoram was in charge of revenue. Joshaphat, the son of Ahilud, was recorder. Sheva was scribe. Zadok and Abiathar were the priests. And Ira the Jairite was the chief minister under David. In our last lesson, we had David returning home to Jerusalem following his ouster by his son Absalom, who is now dead. But that wasn't before another rebellion started by Sheba, a Benjamite, due to the northern tribes' perceived slight over Judah taking the lead role in welcoming David back as king, in spite of it being the northern nation's initiative to bring back David in the first place. This political turmoil and rivalry between north and south wasn't new, and it wouldn't go away even after the days of Solomon, for it would be after Solomon that the nation of Israel would permanently split into two. But unlike with the uprising of Absalom, David wasn't going to allow the rebellion of Sheba to grow. Amasa was now his general instead of Joab due to Joab's many transgressions, including killing Absalom against David's orders, and so David put Amasa in charge of gathering an army to go and fight Sheba. But Amasa wasn't really a skilled general, having lost the only battle he led for Absalom, and so he had difficulty gathering troops quickly, resulting in David sending Abishai and Joab with their men before Amasa returned. And when Amasa caught up with Joab and Abishai, Joab took Amasa by surprise and killed him, most likely because Joab didn't want anybody else being general, seeing as how all that he had done for Israel at that point. And so with Joab back in command, they pursued Sheba, who by this time had retreated to Abel Beth-maachah, which would be not too far from the settlement of Dan in northern Israel. That Sheba had to retreat here shows us that not only was David quick in sending out troops to quell this before Sheba could raise more troops, but also that despite Israel's anger with Judah, that Sheba's influence was not as strong as maybe he had originally thought. Now when Joab found out that Sheba was at Abel Beth-maachah, naturally he besieged the city and was ready to destroy it. Before doing so, though, a wise woman from the city beseeched Joab if she could talk to him first. She tells Joab that this city in times past was sought out for wisdom and would settle disputes, though from what period of time that was, the text does not say, that therefore she could be trusted to give Joab good advice. She then asked Joab why he came to destroy such a city in Israel and wipe it off the face of the map. Now Joab said that he didn't want to do that, he just wanted Sheba, and so likely thought that if Abel Beth-Maachah was allowing him to remain in their gates, they must approve of his actions. The passage says that Sheba was of the mountains of Ephraim, while earlier we were told he was a Benjamite. But from our past studies, we know that the mountains of Ephraim extended into the territory of Benjamin, so this isn't a contradiction. The woman then told Joab that if he would wait, the man's head would be thrown over the wall without Joab having to fight. And that's exactly what happened. For when the woman, in her wisdom, told the people the situation, that's what they did. The rebellion was quelled. David was king again, and Joab returned to Jerusalem. Now I'd like to know what the conversation between David and Joab was when David asked where Amasa was. But alas, the scriptures don't tell us this. We only get the final conclusion of the matter in 1 Kings, when David gives his instructions to Solomon before dying. Chapter 20 concludes by telling us of David's administration for the latter part of his reign. We saw a similar list back in 2 Samuel 8, verses 16 to 18 at the beginning of David's reign from Jerusalem. You'll notice that these lists are similar, but not exactly the same, as the names of Adoram was added as in charge of the revenue, as was Ira the Jerahite as chief counselor. Adoram most likely was a young man when he was appointed to this position, as we will see him again during the days of Rehoboam, the son of Solomon. The only other change that is evident is that David's scribe is called Sheva here in 2 Samuel 20, while he was Seraiah in 2 Samuel 8. While this could be two different people, in all likelihood this was the same man going by a different name here, as all the other repeated names are the same, and no note as to a change in scribes was made by the author of 2 Samuel. So with David back in Jerusalem, we're coming up on the last decade of his reign, maybe even a little less than a decade. However, for much of the rest of 2 Samuel, we're going to be dealing with events that don't have a definite time period as to where they fit into the chronology of David's reign. But nevertheless, we invite you back for those studies as they give us further insight into the reign of King David. With that, our time is up for today. The Lord willing, we hope you'll join us for tomorrow's discussion of 2 Samuel chapter 21, verses 1 to 14. As we continue our walk through the Bible, one verse at a time. Thank you for watching today's episode. We hope that you found it edifying and ask that you not only subscribe to our channel and podcast, but that you like and share this episode among your friends, so that the saving gospel of Jesus Christ can go out to the whole world.